Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Board Recap with Chris Adsit. Today, I want to cover the meeting from Arrowhead on Wednesday night, July 9th. I put these summaries together because what takes us between 2 to 4 hours to complete, I summarize for you in between 5 to 10 minutes. And if you don't have time to be in person or watch our YouTube recording, these will hopefully suffice and give you a nice high level of what's been happening in our board meetings and in our district. So we started off the evening with an update from the superintendent on the state budget. Now, what that means is the states help fund our public schools. It's both local taxes and state reimbursement. And this was the update of what's the state doing this year. There's some good news and some not so good news. The good news is, first, the funding per student that we receive will go up by $325 per student. That's a very good thing. It does not keep up entirely with inflation and rising costs, but it's an increase. Secondly, special education funding is pretty expensive, and right now we're reimbursed from the state at about 30%. And they're going to push that number up into the 42% next year and then about 45% the year after. We don't always see all those funds. We see a portion of it, but at least it's trending in the right direction. We've made it very clear to our legislators that special education really could use a little more support. But again, it's trending in the right direction. So again, some good news. The robotics team received a $4,000 bump to their program. Not a lot of money, but again, it's something. Now, what was significant was our open enrollment reimbursement. So there's a difference between how much our district gets paid for a student that open enrolls in versus an in-district student. And that amount has a discrepancy. So what they did is they increased the funding for children that open enroll in. And they did it by a decent number, a little over $1,000. So that was really helpful for our district. The problem is, it's still not equal to that same funding amount that's going to private and choice schools. So hopefully someday, again, that gap will continue to close, but at least from an Arrowhead perspective, it's an improvement over the previous year. So again, financially, good news. What's the theme? The budget increased. We are receiving a little more money to help us do our job, but it's still not keeping up with inflation and rising costs. So there's always financial challenges. Then we got an update on academic performance. And this was a really good one, and I hope you pay attention. So advanced placement testing was up this year, which is great. More students took it, more tests were taken, and by a good number. But the really cool part was the performance of those tests. So the state average, ready, is 60% pass rate. Arrowhead last year was 88%. This year we trended up again to 93. So again, the trend is moving in the right direction. So very, very happy about that. We had a discussion around facility planning. As some of you know, our Arrowhead referendum did not pass in April. And there are still challenges that we're faced with the facilities. So we scheduled another meeting for July 22nd, 6:30 p.m. at the South Campus in the library. Please, if you're interested in hearing the board work through some of those challenges, it is open to the public, but it is a board workshop, so there isn't public participation, but you're welcome to come and hear as we work through those different challenges. We also thanked and celebrated a donation from the Delafield Lions Club. They donated $1,600 to the Technology and Engineering Partnership Program. Now, some people might say, well, why is that a big deal? This is a tax-run public school. I shouldn't have to donate. And you're right, you don't have to. But when people do, it makes a big difference. That money goes straight to our kids. And especially when it's designated into a program, it goes right to their kids. So if you see anybody from the Delafield Lions Club, please thank them for their contributions. The next item was a discussion on our surveillance cameras. They're called ALPR, A-L-P-R, surveillance cameras, and they take pictures of license plates of vehicles that come onto campus, and then they can alert law enforcement if there's issues. We did not take an official action this evening as far as approving or denying. We sent it back to committee because there's still some more data, some more information we'd like to look at. So I think that was a very good decision. I was happy that the board didn't make a decision one way or the other on that. The next two parts that came up were curriculum and policy meetings, updates, and then board actions from them. The first one in curriculum was really focused around approving some new curriculum and books that were presented to the board. That's one of the functions of a board, is to review curriculum that we use in the district. And the vast majority of all books were fine, everything passed. There were 2 sociology books that had some board concerns. But the great thing is we have a really good relationship with our administrative team. We were able to talk through them and come up with some solutions to still use the books. In my opinion, one of the books was slanted a little dark and had some strong opinions in it. But again, in school, you want to introduce children to different opinions so that they can form their own. But to be transparent, make sure we're protecting parents' rights for being able to understand what they're being taught, we are increasing the amount of information in the syllabus and creating an opt-in for that book. So the nice thing is then parents and students will get a chance to preview the information before signing up for the class. So that's super. The second book, another one that I reviewed, is for an AP class as well. And again, pretty slanted in one direction, but again, it's not bad to expose kids to different thoughts. The problem was it was also a required reading. So a heavily slanted book that's introducing them to a thought process, great. But to do it as a mandatory reading, what we did is we worked with the administration again, and it's going to become on the optional book list. So for students that are really interested in those perspectives, they still have access to it, but it's no longer forced. So again, this is what board and administration should be doing to reflect the views of the community and still provide a quality education. So I was very happy with those outcomes. And then we went into policy. There were 2 big things that we actually took votes on this evening. One was on our cell phone policy. Now, if you're not familiar what it is, Arrowhead currently has a no phone policy in classrooms. Again, unless directed by a teacher as part of a class or an exercise. So you can't have them on during class, but you can use them on breaks and on the lunch hour. There is some research out there talking about having a phone-free policy from what's called bell to bell. So anytime you're in the school, cell phone free. The board voted with a 6-3 vote, so the majority decided to send that policy and that concept back to the policy committee to really iron it out. Like, what would it look like if something like that were to be implemented at Arrowhead? So again, not an official action to adopt or deny a change, but to really pursue it further. What would it look like? So that's where the first one went. The second one was on a policy change to be in compliance with the White House and the presidential order to remove gender from schools. And all we did is really update a real long list. You can see it on the website under the board agenda. A long list of policies that had a lot of gender language in it, and it was simply replaced and reworded with sex. So wherever there was gender referenced and influenced, it was just replaced with sex for biology. So again, staying in compliance, more of a administrative change to the policy, not overly substantive. And the good news is that passed on a 9-0. So again, full board support to make those adjustments to be in compliance. And then finally, we did some standard business things where we approved a couple different forms. One was on academic standards. Another one was on seclusion and restraint report. These are required reports from the state. So again, it sounds like we didn't do a lot, but that took hours. There's lots of discussion here. And we wanted to make sure that we make really good decisions. So we're not voting for something yes or voting for something no without having all the facts. So I was really happy with the board tonight and with the decisions that were made. Not only the outcomes of the votes, but the perspectives of saying on some cases, we're not ready to make a hard, fast decision. Let's get more information. And then again, I was also very impressed with the administration working together on anything that we had disagreements on. So I hope this helps. If it does, please share it with other people. Tell them to follow my page and to log in and at least see these videos. It's a really fast way to stay up to date with what's happening and what was done at our meetings. So again, my name's Chris Adsit. I appreciate all of your support. If I can ever be of service, please reach out by email and I will get back to you in a very timely fashion. Thanks for all you do. God bless you and our entire community.